I have a fictional one. I just want to see if somebody else says it.
Okay, well mine is the Dread Pirate
That
Roberts.
is the one that I was going to say. Yeah, I wanted to say it. The Dread Pirate Roberts. Have a good night. Maybe you'll most likely be dead in the morning.
Yep. Sleep well. I'll most likely kill you in the morning.
Most likely kill you in the morning.
Yep.
Hi, my name's Peter Simon Hilton, and I'm one of the co-authors of the pirate ballad of Bonny and Reed.
I'm Allie Babich, and I'm the director.
I'm Chris Seiler, and I am the musical director.
And we're here at Sama Sama to share a meal and answer some questions about the pirate ballad of Bonny and Reed.
I've been with the company for a long time, for about 20 years. So as far as the journey with this production in particular, I think I only found out about it 6 months ago or so. I think that's when I found out it existed. Got cast in the production and was asked to be the musical director. And I was like, well, what's the music? Well, it's pirate shanties. Oh, I think I could do that. So yeah, just dove right in, and it's been a pleasure to be working on it. But yeah, I think it's a new piece, which is always a very challenging and a really exciting thing to do. So that piqued my interest right away. So
Yeah. I heard ASC was doing a pirate play, and I wanted in.
Yeah, the pirate play. It was like
a pirate play,
yeah,
of course. And my first 2 seasons at ASC were with Chris.
And we did a pirate play.
And we did a pirate.
Sort of.
Peter the Starcatcher.
Yeah, sure.
Yes. Another pirate play. So sort of thrilling to be back, starting a new chapter as sort of thrilling. Yes, it's sort of thrilling to be back. And to be working in a different role than one I've had here before. But boy, it's been a lot of fun. And I'm so grateful to have come into with a company that sort of had some time to meld while you've been working on the first 2 shows.
Sure.
And to be able to take advantage of that trust to ask you to do some very silly things.
I mean, it's definitely a silly show.
Yeah.
Vanessa Morosco and myself, we're the co-authors. Vanessa's actually the executive director of the American Shakespeare Center, as you well know.
I knew that.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
And
I wonder why she was hanging around so much.
Yeah. Right.
And it's definitely an idea that we've been batting around for about 10 years now. So when the opportunity came, we definitely jumped at it. And it's definitely supposed to be a family show, not too long, and full of silliness and songs and a little bit of history.
A little bit. Learn something maybe.
Learn something maybe.
Yeah. Although that's been a surprise to me out here is how much pirate history is already embedded in the culture here in the Southeast. We don't have many pirates in my home state of Wisconsin.
Right.
Some seafaring in the Great Lakes, but as a fellow Midwesterner.
Yeah, some lake pirating. Yeah, sure, could happen.
I mean, it was interesting when we were doing the research for the show that it was funny how much of the sort of, received wisdom, the piratical lore, is actually just basically made up and not authentic at all.
Yeah.
And that most of it stems from Robert Louis Stevenson, who wrote Treasure Island, and the subsequent Disney movie from 1950.
That false concocting Celt?
Exactly, that false concocting Celt. And Robert Newton, who played Long John Silver, he actually came from the West Country, which is an area in England where they speak like that. And he just exaggerated that accent. And now we all believe that to be the authentic piratical accent. But of course, the
pirate's favorite letter is R.
R.
You might think it'd be R, but it'd actually be the C.
You know what the pirate's favorite fast food restaurant is?
What is it?
It's not Arby's.
Really?
No, it's Long John Silver.
Of course.
Free advertising.
Should never get in a...
But also there were like falsities like walking the plank, like even having treasure maps and certainly sort of, X marks the spot. It was all just, completely made up.
Yeah.
And now we really believe that it's true. But I mean, probably the pirates all spoke in many, various accents from all around the world.
Because they're all over the world.
Sure.
And possibly different languages as well. So yeah, I mean, that was really interesting when we were doing the research for that.
That's been one of the joyful things about putting the visual world of this show together, is that because pirates are from all over the world, we can get away with, if we want, French weapons or Spanish weapons or any part of the world. Well, of course, they plundered.
Makes sense in
Why
our
wouldn't
world.
they have?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure, of course.
Yes, I think like found objects were probably the the most used piratical weapon.
Oh, for sure.
Anything at hand.
Sure.
So yeah, I mean, I think that the research for doing the play was really, really enjoyable and really eye-opening. And I guess that's the little sort of, soupçon of education.
Of history? Yeah.
Did you always know that it was going to be a musical, or did you just have a...
No, I don't think so. I mean, is it a musical or is it a play with music? I don't know. The jury's still out. But I think what really attracted us to having music was the fact that these sea shanties would, create this sort of nautical tapestry for our piratical world. And the good thing about sea shanties, because then we wrote original lyrics to them. The good thing about traditional sea shanties is that they're quite simplistic, and the range isn't too much, and they're quite repetitive. And of course, the reason for that is that they're work songs.
Sure.
And we felt that would sort of create a community within the theatre and while people are watching the show, because I mean, the hope is to get people to sing along, and there is in fact one particular sea shanty.
Yeah, we have one ringer in there.
One ringer
everybody,
in there, and we won't reveal what it is
if
yet.
they don't know the words. I don't know where they've
But
been.
the idea, is to get
words.
everybody singing along.
Sure.
I mean, that's the hope anyway. So
Yeah.
we'll see. And then of course the other inspiration was Amanda Cotton, who's this sculptor who created this sculpture called Inexorable in 2021. And the really cool thing about it is that we actually went to see it. It's like standing there in a soccer ground.
Lewis?
In Lewis, yes, Lewis Football Club.
The dripping pan.
The dripping pan,
as the
indeed.
locals call it, yeah. And it's standing there, and it's pretty impressive. We went to see it when we were going to see an opera at Glyndebourne, and the town of Lewis is just next door. So we went to see it on a Saturday afternoon when all the people were flooding in to see the game, and we blagged our way in because we didn't have a ticket, and we sort of looked at this statue, and it's 8 feet tall, and it's also constructed of reinforced concrete.
Right.
And it has its own sort of origin story as well, its own sort of like, narrative tale about sort of why it was created and who by, and then, why it ended up in the grounds of a football club. But that is, of course, interwoven into the Pirate Ballad story. So we won't reveal what that is. You just have to come and see the show.
Oh boy.
How does it get to the Lewis Football Club?
I know.
I guess we have to tune in.
Well, the one thing that was really interesting to find out from Amanda Cotton, because we spoke with her, remember, on Zoom, was that it is so heavy that it's not the easiest of things. And I think that's sort of unlike a lot of other artists. If you create a statue, you need a team of people just to move out of your studio.
Right. Yeah.
And I just think that's it's a very sort of extraordinary form of art. I do love the fact that she also created a statue of herself, life size, made out of bird feed, and then she put it in a forest, in a wooded area, and then sort of returned to it every sort of week or so to see what had happened.
Yeah.
And it took about sort of
wild.
6 months to 9 months for it totally to be eaten.
Really?
Lots of fat starlings and sparrows in the woods.
Yeah.
They're happy for the art.
But yeah, she was very inspirational, and she was our into the story. So she's the sort of unseen character, and the statue is definitely seen. And spoiler alert, comes to life.
Yes.
Because it would be pretty dull if it didn't.
I was wondering what was happening on that stage.
I got to participate actually in my second season here, also with Chris, in the ASC Wren season, which was a thing for many years. I actually think Vanessa was instrumental in creating the Wren season. But it's a really amazing opportunity for actors to continue to play under Shakespeare's given circumstances, which is to say, without a director.
Right.
And so being such a young artist and getting to be part of a company with people who have a lot more experience with the canon than I did at the time was really great, and just seeing how actors take ownership of their roles when they're left on their own. You know,
And kind of required to, right?
And required to, exactly. Yeah, it was a really great learning curve of just what works in the space, what doesn't work in the space, and also for end season we had a week of rehearsals to get each show up, maybe?
Yeah, I think total of time of rehearsal, like hours.
Like
yes.
5 or 6 days?
Yeah, it was. There were some Ren seasons that I was in where we literally had like 2 days. Like we would show up on Tuesday and we'd be performing for an audience on Thursday night. So yeah, that's the kind of.
Wow.
I mean, it's just Hamlet.
It's just Hamlet. That actually was the first one we opened.
Ours was the Bad Quarto. So yeah, I was like, no, not the one.
Oh, okay. No, I didn't memorize those lines.
No wonder you fell out of your head.
Yes, it was a really great experience just to get a really full sense of what it takes to put on a play rather than just in the actor's lane, and also specifically in the Blackfriars space.
Yeah.
It can be a confusing space for people when they first arrive, but it ends up being so friendly.
There tends to be a vocabulary, a physical vocabulary that you just learn in that space, and that space can be limiting, but it also just opens up vast possibilities in its limitations. Right? There's no lights. You've got to put you have to put the focus on what needs to be focused on with the words and the actors on hand.
Yeah.
You just learn things like, hey, I'm the king. I walk in, I stand in the middle. Everybody walks around me. It's like I'm the first one in. There's shorthand to it, and it's just when you come to direct, then I would imagine it's just like, oh yeah, I know how to do this. I mean, these are the rules, right?
It's just creating a common vocabulary for the group that you're working with in that time. My college Shakespeare teacher was actually a Shenandoah Shakes alum, Steve Cardamone, and he talked a lot about form and freedom. And I feel like as an artist, I really thrive in places where I have a form, I have something to cling to as a structure, and then I know how much space I have to play. And I feel like Blackfriars is sort of exceptional at that, just giving you just what you need and just enough problems that you have to get creative with how to solve them.
And I think the Blackfriars is like so suitable for a pirate show as well because it's all wood.
Oh yeah.
And it just has that feel.
Yeah, looking up
being
looks like
in a ship,
being in a hole.
Yeah, and also because, and this was one of the things that that Vanessa and I were able to do when we were constructing the play. We're using the conventions of Shakespeare and how his company of actors would have used the space themselves. Right. And so that makes the pirate show fit like a glove into the actual space where it's going to be performed. So it's like, and there's a lot of audience, interaction, a lot of fun, a lot of silliness. Not only will people hopefully sing along, but they'll also, be sort of, seduced into the action themselves and maybe even given sort of like roles and things like that, so that everybody sort of feels very participatory. And Vanessa always says that, that it's what does she say? She says that it's
theater is a radical act of community.
And there's the argument that theater should just be what we're doing over there. That the only thing that theater has going for it, as opposed to other mediums, is that audience sitting right there with you. And if when you take the lights down on them, you're just trying to be film. You're trying to be, but having it up. Of course, this pirate play should work in these conditions. But shouldn't every play work if it's actually written for the theater? Work in these conditions, So yeah, I mean, it's in the limitations that we have, it just opens up so many possibilities.
Yeah. I mean, it's so interesting. I mean, Shakespeare wrote like The Tempest for the Blackfriars Playhouse, and
another play with the ship. Right?
Absolutely, yeah. And you can see how it just
and
fits
a bunch of
when you're actually sort of, when you're watching it, and also when you're performing inside it as well. Like Night of the Burning Pestle, Beaumont's Night of the Burning Pestle, that was also written for the Blackfriars, and so it was Webster's Duchess of Malfi as well.
Duchess of Malfi.
And then you do them in that space, and you go, we don't have any problems. It all just works. So hopefully that is what's happening with the pirate show as well. Sure. Because it's bespoke, So it should just unfold for everyone's pleasure.
To find the sound for these songs, we basically just went onto the stage and we said, let's go find all the instruments that we have and just see what we can come up with for these. And we know we're going to have a guitar going or a ukulele, you know, keeping the things together. But what else? What else we got up here? All these noisemaker things. Okay, that's great. What do we got in this box? Oh, I didn't know we owned a concertina. Hey, Nick, do you know how to play a concertina?
In an hour, he figured it out.
Wait, we looked at it, was like, wait, these keys are these keys down here are for the key of C, and these are for the key of G. You can make that work, right? He's like, oh, no, and then he's making it work. And hand Joe, you know, a bunch of percussion things, like, which one do you like to play on this one, Joe? That's great. Which one will make you look goofier, Joe? Well, that one, I think that's probably the choice we should make then. But even just within the first day of rehearsing, we had really found the spine of most of the songs, and just the fun of coming up with things that probably shouldn't work, and then they did, and some things didn't, and then we just, you know, those went back up into the musician's alcove where all the instruments are stored. But we challenged ourselves. I know that a couple of the songs, people would think, well, why don't I just try playing this and we'll see how it goes. I know Isabel pulled out the glockenspiel, and they were thinking, let me think if I can remember my music theory, and then you know, and it took a couple days, but then on the third day I was like, hey, that's starting to sound pretty good. So it's really tightened up because we've been our own literal band up there for the rehearsal process, and I think we're keeping it simple and rustic and also fun. So I think those are probably the main objectives of this show, I would think.
With some
so
delightfully cartoonish surprises.
Yes.
there.
Delightfully cartoonish surprises is what we are all about here at the
And I love that sense of collaboration, you know, between the script and the direction and the musical direction, and how sort of, you know, we're constantly checking in with each other, and sort of, you know, maybe there's some new pages that are going to come, and maybe there's, you know, ideas from you, Chris, about sort of, you know, how can we get into this song, how do we get out of that song, and that things have sort of generally sort of, you know, evolved over the rehearsal process, and it's been very joyful, which is really fascinating.
It does help that the songs are pretty catchy.
Yeah.
I think when we first started it, I thought there were 2 or 3 that were catchy, and I was kind of like, I don't know about these other ones. Now that we've been doing those other ones, like, these are pretty
They
catchy
all
too.
get stuck in my head.
catchy.
Yeah, depends on the day.
They're all really catchy tunes, so I could see rowing a boat to these tunes. The pirates probably didn't row the boat, they just said, you know.
I don't know. I think they might have rowed some boats too.
There's some smaller boats, sure.
Or you get stuck in the doldrums,
dinghies.
you need fresh water. Yeah. Gotta get the ship moving somehow.
Somehow.
The weird thing about Anne Bonny and Mary Read is that historically there's only really sort of a very small collection of documents that can be said to be authentic, and those are, I mean, all surround the one that we all refer to, which is the transcript of the trial in 1720. And there all the various articles, journalism that was surrounding that, because it was quite a sensationalist trial. But post that, the fascinating thing is that, and this was only 4 years later, post that there was a book that was sensationalized their story. It was called The General History of the Robberies and Murders of the Notorious Pirates, penned, and this was a pen name, so it's not his real name, Charles Johnson. And he definitely, or she definitely sort of like made some stuff up. And you feel that it was probably, you know, for the purposes of selling the books. And that it's sort of, you know, how you gauge the marketplace of that particular time period. And then, you know, subsequently over the last 300 years, people have really sort of reflected their own sort of wants and needs and their own marketplace from generation to generation. And, you know, vicariously through the characters of Anne and Mary. Like, for instance, the Victorians, they saw Mary as very much like a fallen woman. You know, she got in with a bad crowd. And then, but Bonny was definitely sort of questionable virtue, and you know,
that was her own doing.
she was the bad crowd, you know. But then when we get into the sort of the 20th century, you know, I mean, especially around the 60s, then, you know, Mary becomes sort of regressive, and she's sort of traditional and perhaps a prude. whereas, Anne Bonny becomes an icon of sort of radical feminism. And it's interesting how we sort of reflect on their stories. And I would say that Vanessa and myself did exactly that. And so, our opinions and our thoughts about, our contemporary society are reflected through those two iconic characters. And if you want to know what our opinion is, you have to come
see the show.
Fire Ballad.
One of our biggest challenges, one that Chris and I have been collaborating on, is unlike a lot of shows with music, Blackfriars doesn't include a big fancy sound system. So we are having to balance instruments and voices in a space. I mean, it's acoustically pretty brilliant.
And the theater does have that capability.
Well, yes.
But
we've chosen to go acoustic.
Whenever we're doing shows, whenever the American Shakespeare Center is presenting a play, we decide that we're not going to be using that equipment. It's going to be the way that they probably were doing things back in Shakespeare's day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's really cool to be able to customize stuff specifically for the actors that we're working with's voices.
Sure.
And to be able to find, as you mentioned, like the silliest version or the simplest version or whatever that song needs exactly. But as far as like staging it goes, we were saying earlier, that most plays really do work under these conditions, and I think it is fun.
Or they could benefit from them, right?
Yeah,
yes,
maybe. Yeah. I mean, there's I love a big fancy tech extravaganza
I love the big spectacles. I can watch a chandelier flying over the audience.
Absolutely. I mean, we got plenty of chandeliers. We'll see.
Spider-Man flying all over the place.
But yeah, I think it's really about connecting with the same things we connect with in Shakespeare plays, about making sure there's opportunities to engage the audience and really utilizing entrances and exits in a really, that's kind of been the challenge. I think that contemporary playwrights will often give you a blackout to end a scene, but with the Blackfriars, we don't usually use that option. So what is the same effect, but with our physicalities in the space? So yeah. Those are my thoughts as far as bringing a contemporary play to the Blackfriars stage. I mean, also, that was my first show at the Blackfriars stage. Was a contemporary
show?
Yeah,
and,
absolutely. And one that was originally staged with a lot of spectacle.
Yeah.
So I'd say it's not unfamiliar, and it works.
Yeah. I mean, I think we learned a lot of lessons doing that show.
My God, I will never forget your mermaid tale for that show.
Yes, I
was so envious. I also had a pretty spectacular mermaid
You had a pretty good mermaid tale yourself.
Chris was just front and center.
I was. Look it up, kids.
Look it up.
We pulled a few things out of the boxes that we didn't really know. Using the concertina, which I used to own a concertina. But a concertina is a squeeze box would be another name for it, which is a smaller accordion-esque. It's certainly accordions, but it's the smaller one. I used to own one, and I lost it like 10 years ago. And I was like, and I found this one. I was like, we got to use this. So I handed it to Nick so I could keep playing guitar, I guess. So I'm very interested in it. We pulled out this. What do we even call it? The thing that Joe is using, the pan.
Steel drum.
The steel. It's not even a steel drum. It's got another weird name to it.
It's sort of reverse shape.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
There are instruments we are using in this show that I don't even know the names of. So.
Oh man, you're gonna hate this. I think one of my favorite musical moments in the show is it's a surprise. Maybe I shouldn't say, but the surprise instrument during the treasure hunt sequence.
Yes, which is one of the simplest of instruments.
It truly is.
But it certainly is a comedic instrument. Again, come see the Fire Ballad to see what instrument we're talking about. But yeah. The amount of instruments that we do get into the show, I think, is pretty impressive.
I think I'm going to need a count eventually.
Yeah.
You got a whole month to run it. So
yeah, we'll see if we can get an inventory for you.
I remember Vanessa and I changed the stage direction for the entrance of the musicers, saying that the musicers enter looking as though they've just plundered a ship full of musical instruments and noisemakers.
Yeah, exactly.
We had to request extra tables.
Yeah, we as the musicers, we do also just trying to stay as hidden as possible until somebody actually calls for us, and as soon as they say, we'll try to appear.
Because that's actually historically correct as well. It's that one of the best or the most, I guess, one of the least known jobs on a pirate ship was to be a musician.
Be a musician,
Often,
sure.
you know, if they caught a ship, they would look around to see if there were any musicians on board, and they would recruit them or force them to become pirates. Because being a pirate was so monumentally boring.
Sure.
Because you were just basically...
Seems like it's all fun and games, but you know what?
But you know, you're sitting there, there's no radar, there's, you know...
All of a sudden the
all you've got
privateers show up and
no
they just
prey,
start
no
trying
pay.
to board
What are
your
you gonna
ship.
do?
And you're waiting for, you know, this Spanish galleon to come by you, and it's just pure pot
Towns
luck.
refusing to give you their money. It's just...
So being a musician was extremely important, and they were written into the Articles Agreement as well, that, you know, that they had to play on request, and they got one day off, and that was it.
Sounds familiar.
Sounds familiar. Well,
Like
I know.
actors.
I know if this whole acting thing doesn't work out, maybe there's a pirate ship looking for me to play my concertina. Yeah, so. This started months ago.
Yeah.
I said that I only heard about this show like 6 months ago. Well, I think at that point then it was like, okay, well, let's start working on this.
Yeah, and Chris and I are both based out of New York City, so
we
we
got
were able to
together.
meet up. Chris shows up with his guitar, his mandolin. You had like
I
six
think I had a
instruments.
ukulele with me too. Yeah.
And
So.
we met in a studio that had a piano, because that's my instrument. Anyway, so we started brainstorming then. I mean, we've been talking a lot. We've been sharing notes back and forth.
Yeah, and then when we all get together, we also find out what it makes no difference until you get with the cast and you get and you start figuring out who can provide what and what we need to do to make it possible for people to be at their best, which means changing keys of songs that we had already put into rehearsal scores. It's well, we got to change that because it sounds better and it's more sustainable for somebody to perform in this key rather than this key.
Sure.
So I mean, that's all part of it.
Yeah, and I think that's also the gift of working with a live playwright, which we don't often get to do at classical theaters.
Shakespeare doesn't show up that often.
I know. You got to hold more seances or something.
Yeah.
But
I know that Vanessa and I were really excited about sort of like being able to work with you guys because, you know, I mean, when you're sitting in your own little silo, in your own little bubble, trying to create a piece of performance art, you need to let it free. You need to let the bird out of the cage so that it can sort of like fly and other people can help. And definitely there are moments of like constant collaboration and communication about, you know, is the narrative clear? And even though it's a silly story, you know, about sort of like magical realism in a sort of made up piratical world with a little bit of history thrown in for good measure, I mean, it still has to tell a story from A to B, and I think that's where the collaboration really, you know, comes to the fore. I mean, I think that for me, I think that the one that I admire the most is the one that is the sort of the newest creation of this long story for the last 300 years. Is the kid, our heroine.
Yeah.
And I think that having her as somebody who is placed in this piratical world, who is also on the cusp of becoming an adult, and how she sort of evolves throughout the story, I find that the most satisfying thing. You know, you're really gunning for her.
Yeah.
And she also takes some pretty interesting twists and turns throughout the story.
Sure.
But she always seems to be, you know, desperate to be in charge of her destiny. And it seems like most of society is telling her to shut up and just, you know, and do what you're told, including some parents, you know. And I just feel that, you know, her you know, development as a character is the most satisfying to me. And I hope that like young people who come and see the show, they'll not necessarily be inspired to do the same thing as she does, but at least like really be carried through the story, you know, at her side. Because I think that that's the weird and wonderful thing that I think is very unique about this particular interpretation of Anne Bonny and Mary Read's story is it's seen through the eyes of this 17-year-old woman. And I just think that that's really cool. And of course, Isabel Sanchez, who plays
I was just say having Izzy in there, being as charming as she is, it certainly helps with that.
I mean, she's absolutely adorable. But I also love her sulky face too.
Yes. Yeah. I was gonna say kid as well. I mean, I remember being 17 and trying to make these like life-changing decisions that felt like, okay, whatever I choose is gonna alter the course, like is going to determine the rest of my life.
Yes.
And to be being paralyzed by that. And so to see this kid navigating those shifts and choosing something so bold is really cool and really satisfying.
Sure.
And yeah, I think Izzy's also doing a beautiful job of balancing what that, taking ownership of adulthood means to this kid and taking ownership of her life. And yeah, I'm so excited for everyone to meet Kid. I think that she's amazing.
I could make a joke and say that my favorite character is like the music or a parrot, but but I think it's Kid also. Yeah. And, now, when you're writing this play, your daughter is about the same age as
she is,
as
Octavia.
yeah.
Yes, she's going through that transitional phase as every 17-year-old does. Making those decisions, trying to sort of find that passageway to adulthood, and I think it's ever changing for all generations. And I think one of the things that all generations believe is that they have the answer, and of course we don't, because all generations, by definition, are different. And I think that, we, Vanessa and myself, were very inspired by Octavia and her life choices and who she is as a woman. And she's an extraordinarily intelligent human being as well. So she's very, very articulate. And it was interesting to sort of the kid in the pirate play is absolutely nothing like Octavia, just so we make that very clear. But both of them are very intelligent people, and they can, stand up to their own with grown-ups and have arguments and be erudite and, have strong feelings and a strong sort of opinion. I mean, she's just like everyone who goes through this, the process of growing up.
Sure.
She's instantly mad or instantly curious, and it's she just turns on a dime. And and Izzy Sanchez is doing such a great job of that, And also I feel that she's a conduit with the audience. It feels like she's always going sort of, what do you think about these crazy people who are on the stage with me and their weird story? I mean, is it applicable to me in my life, or is it just a fantasy? And I think that when she comes to the end of the piece, she's got some answers, which of course, to see, you have to come to see the show.
I hope they leave the theater with sore abs and a song stuck in their heads. That's the goal.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say a sense of curiosity, find out about these people. And, Amanda Cotton as well. I mean, she's a great artist, and deserves recognition, and she's had a fascinating, life so far, and she's still young. And, and who are Anne Bonny and Mary Read, and who do they mean to you? I mean, it's only just one step away from a device which you can't bring into the theatre, to sort of do some more research for oneself, I mean, I just love the conversation to continue outside the theatre. Like, who are these people? Were they real? And for people just to go down the rabbit hole, because it's a fascinating one, So yeah, and also just to be joyful about it, just come out smiling, and feeling that they were all there for 75 minutes and they had a good evening or a good afternoon, and it was fun. And at the same time, I can think, oh gosh, the things that I thought about pirates may or may not be true, and there's even more to look at, So, yeah, I would hope that there was a little sort of, modicum of education and curiosity that would, people would leave the theatre with.
I'd also hope that it might open some people up to coming to see theater. I mean, I think this is a different show than we would normally do. I think a lot of people might be intimidated by coming to see a Shakespeare show, and this might be a gateway to actually seeing how unintimidating it can be
And of course, Shakespeare has loads of pirates.
There's lots of pirates.
You know,
Lots of
Hamlet was
pirates.
pirates.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
pirates in Hamlet, and pirate.
Heracles. You know, I mean, it's like
Twelfth Night, he's
Night.
pirate.
Yeah.
He's,
They're usually named what, Antonio?
Antonio, usually
Yeah,
Antonio.
uh-huh.
Yeah. I have a fictional one. I just want to see if somebody else says it.
Okay, well, mine is the Dread Pirate
That is the
Roberts.
one that I was going to say. Yeah, I wanted to say it. The Dread Pirate Roberts. Have a good night. Maybe you'll most likely be dead in the morning.
Yep. Sleep well. You'll
well.
I'll most likely kill you in the morning.
Most likely kill you in the morning.
Yep.
Do you know
Yeah.
the Dread Pirate Roberts?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
just making sure.
Yeah, I love the lore of the Dread Pirate Roberts too. Is like
Yeah.
weirdly akin to the lore of Anne and Mary, in that anyone can be the Dread Pirate Roberts. You just have to declare yourself the Dread Pirate Roberts.
That's right.
That's another brilliant line. He leaves no survivors. Well, where did the stories come from? I
Yeah,
wonder.
exactly. Yeah.
And I love that. And it's similarly to how Anne and Mary's story is like, well, it's whatever you want it to be. As long we only have so many facts you have to stick to.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I would say that Roberts does actually appear in the pirate show as well. It's mentioned.
Oh, that's
yeah.
who that is?
Yeah.
I was wondering about that.
Yeah. Just fleetingly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, that is. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a real pirate, and he's not like my favorite because he's like a despicable guy because
Well.
he was a pirate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
there-
But I live in New York City and I do a lot of like history stuff there. And look this up. There's a guy named Albert Hicks, and he's the last known pirate. He was the last person convicted and put to death because of piracy. He's a despicable guy. Murdered a lot of people. The last thing apparently that he did was he took a job on an oyster ship and killed everybody on board to try to like steal everything on the boat. And he was very dumb and got captured. And he was put to death in 1860 in front of 10,000 people on Bedloe's Island. And what is Bedloe's Island? That's Liberty Island. That's exactly where the Statue of Liberty is now.
Right.
So yeah, so that's one of the last known actual pirates in the United States, at least. So yeah, yeah.
I find like also, and she's also in the show as well, at least mentioned as a Grace O'Malley, who's Irish.
Another great
Irish,
musical.
And
pirate
also
musical.
a contemporary of Shakespeare,
Yeah.
because you know, she was being piratical as far as the English were concerned
Yeah.
during Elizabeth I's reign. And in fact, they met and had to negotiate a peace together. That's historically accurate. And so you can imagine sort of, you know, Queen Bess and you know, Grace O'Malley sitting there.
Do you know the musical Pirate Queen?
Yes,
Yes.
I know. That's based on her too, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant.
By the same guys who did Les Mis, right?
I think.
Was it?
I think so, yeah, I think it was, yeah. But yes, so I think that she's totally fascinating. And that would be an example, because these names are just flung out all the time. You don't expect people to remember them, but that would be an example of, you know, somebody who could come out of the theatre and go, who was this? And could Google it. So it's like maybe people would sort of, you know, be inspired to sort of find out the history of all these people, because they're pretty cool.
Wouldn't want to hang out with them.
No,
yeah.
well, most of them are dead,
Yeah,
so
okay.
I mean, you certainly wouldn't want to hang out with them. It'd be very smelly.
Well, not that they smelled much better when they were alive,
No.
but thanks for joining us.
And please check out the Pirate Ballad of Bonny and Reed that is playing at the Blackfriars Playhouse from now until November the 16th. It's a really good time.
And maybe stop by for a pre-show or post-show snack or drink with your friends here with our friends at Sama Sama.
Cheers.
Cheers.